In this video lecture, we're going to talk about cognitive walkthroughs. What are they, and how do you report their results? What is a cognitive walkthrough in the first place? A cognitive walkthrough is a usability evaluation of some kind of product, and it's based around a persona. You, the testers, are going to develop a persona. You'll then walk through a scenario that you developed when you pretend to be that persona. The analysis is fairly simple. It's going to focus on core features of the product that you are testing. You don't want to get too far in the weeds about details. Focus on big picture items. The process for a cognitive walkthrough itself is fairly simple. First, you define the user. Develop a persona, that is, a fake person who might conceivably use the product. And when you do, include specific knowledge and experience that the persona has with both the task and the interface. Second, identify the user's end goal and tasks that are involved in getting toward that end goal. In order to do that, you need to create two things as testers. You'll create a use case and a scenario. Remember, a use case is a generic list of things that people can do with a product, things that they will find in or on a product. A scenario, on the other hand, is a story. What is happening when a user comes to a situation where they're going to use this product? In the scenario in particular, specify a small but representative sample of tasks that the user must accomplish in order to reach the end goal. Step number 3 relates to what we just talked about. You need to identify the correct action sequences. You're going to break down that scenario into tasks. Those tasks, in other words, are testable chunks of some kind. So we're looking for individual actions or small blocks of related actions that accomplish one sub-goal. So just as an illustration, if I'm going to start a machine, what's involved in starting the machine? Let's say starting a car. What's involved? Well, I get in. That's one action. I need to, on most modern cars, press the brakes. That's an action. I need to, let's say that I don't have a key. I have a push button start. I need to then press the start button. Do I need to have each of those things as a specific action? Not particularly. Getting in the car might be its own thing, but realistically, to start the car, what do I need to do? I need to push the brake and push the start button. I can cluster those two together as a single task, and I can put some sort of label on it that describes this as starting the car before I move on to some other cluster of actions. Fourth, you define your focus. What exactly is it you're going to be looking at in the cognitive walkthrough? It depends what you are going, kind of a device you're looking at. If it's a hi-fi prototype, if it's a complete project that is just done, or if the product is actually live and out there in the world and you're just testing to see how well it works, you're going to test for general usability of the whole thing. On the other hand, if you have a lo-fi prototype that's in development, the big thing you want to test for is usability of system prompts, system menus, and feedback. The next step in a cognitive walkthrough is adopting that persona and actually doing a walkthrough. Make sure when you do this that you document what happens. That's involved in step number 5. You want to answer these questions for every testable chunk that you identified when you broke down the sequence of actions into testable chunks. First, will the user know what to do at this particular juncture? At this step, what are they doing? Do they understand, yes, I know I need to do this. No, I don't realize I need to do this. And if the user does the right thing, do they know that they did the right thing, or did they just blunder into it? And if they did the right thing, do they know they are making progress toward their goal? What sort of feedback did they receive from the product? Finally, you collate your reports and collate your results and report them to your client. The question then in front of us is, how do you actually report the cognitive walkthrough results? What's a good way to take down the data? What's a good way to represent it to a client? The answer is to use a table. I'm going to provide you with a table that I suggest very strongly that you use. It works something like this. You've got a main goal up at top. That's whatever the end result is. What does the user want to get done? Then you've got your tasks. You have a single action, perhaps a cluster of related actions. Give some sort of descriptive name to those that lets the reader know that this is task number 1. After that, specify what the correct action is in this far left box. So write down in words, what is it the user is supposed to do? Then, the second box, I would suggest you just use this text. What will the user know to do, and will the user know they did the right thing? In the third box, fill in this box with your own text. So, will the user know what to do? Answer that question over there. Will the user know they did the right thing? Answer that question. Now, I noted at the bottom, it says optional, discuss problem severity. It's not really optional, but it is optional. If you don't discuss how severe the problem is, then all problems are equally important. So you need to differentiate things that are cosmetic problems, minor problems, major problems, and showstoppers that keep the client or keep the user, the persona, from proceeding. So I suggest very strongly that you discuss problem severity. Finally, in that last box, provide some supporting evidence. So, will the user know what to do? You say, well, yes. What evidence do you have from the test that demonstrates that the user will know what to do? Similarly, knowing what to do the right thing. Provide answers for both. After you've done that, what you do is just replicate the materials below. So instead of task 1, you have task 2, and it applies to the second chunk of actions, and just keep repeating this structure all the way through until you're done with the scenario's action sequence. At this point, you need to talk about putting in some sort of screenshot, some sort of photo of the object being used. A good way to do that is to put it off at the side. Just align it with the boxes, and there you go. Now please note, we've got two things. We've got the image itself, that photograph or screenshot, and we also have a label and caption. When you do the label and caption, make sure you do a couple of things. Number one, I very strongly suggest, if you're doing this in Microsoft Word, use the automatic caption generator. It'll do an excellent job. You need to generate some sort of label. So figure, image, picture, screen cap, whatever it may be. Some sort of label that says, here's what it is, and it is numbered in sequence so we know which one comes first, second, third, etc. You then have a caption. It's descriptive. It tells your reader what are they seeing in the figure. Then you want to insert some sort of visual separator. Microsoft Word, the automatic caption generator, it won't insert this for you. You actually have to type it in yourself. Now, what is it you want to put in there? I don't know. All sorts of possibilities. You could use a hyphen, but that's a little short. I've used an N dash here because it's a nice length. You could use an M dash, but that's a little bit wide. You could use a colon. You could use a tilde. You could use whatever it may be, some sort of visual separator to break apart the label and the caption. Then, another possibility for providing images is you could do it below. So you've got the table cells here. Then we could just put in 1, 2, 3, 20, however many screenshots or pictures of the thing being done, and each of them has a label and caption. Then let's talk about reporting your results. Generally speaking, when you write a cognitive walkthrough result, you're going to be saying this to a client, like, we did this, here's what we did, here's what we found, etc. So I suggest you do something like this. First, provide a relatively short introduction. You want to describe the project. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? What are you doing it on? Describe what a cognitive walkthrough is. Odds are your client won't be entirely familiar, so if you describe what it is, how it works, purpose of what you are doing, they'll understand and they'll say, oh, I can believe your results from this. Briefly outline the scenario. You don't need to go into exhaustive detail, but tell what's up. Again, why is your persona doing this? I would also then forecast your conclusions. You don't need to go into enormous detail at this point, but if there are massive problems, let the client know that yes, your project, it has massive problems, and we will explain what they are as we proceed through this report. You'll then describe the persona. When you do that, I suggest very strongly that you wrap your text around your visuals. We don't want huge white deserts in the paper. You'll lay out your action sequence. As we discussed, I suggest you use the table format, and something you'll do that really grab your reader here is you're going to tell success or failure stories. So as you describe what the user is doing as they're going along, are they succeeding? Are they failing? Why? That sort of narrative structure of first the user does this, second the persona does this, third the persona does this, here's the evidence, that'll really grab your reader and make the whole thing make sense. Please, I emphasized this before, but I'm going to say it again, show, don't just tell. Put in some visuals to demonstrate what exactly it is you are talking about. Then you're going to provide a formal conclusion. When you do, point out the biggest issues. Now, if all there are just cosmetic issues, that's fine. Say, all the issues are cosmetic, and here they are. But realistically, if there are showstopper issues, identify those and say, these are the big things you really need to fix. Put those up front, and then if there's reason to or room for putting the less important things, go ahead and talk about them as well, but focus on the big issues. And when you do, provide solutions. You do not necessarily have to provide a technical solution, if that is beyond you, but you do need to provide some sort of solution that says, here's a problem, and it is fixable if you do blank. So to summarize everything we've talked about, we've discussed what a cognitive walkthrough is. We've talked about how the process of a cognitive walkthrough works. We've talked about a good way to record and report results. We've talked about places to put visuals in the results. And in particular, we've wrapped up talking about what you can do to include in a cognitive walkthrough report. That's the end of this PowerPoint lesson. Thank you for watching.